Welcome to another tea talk. It's a tea talk, but I'm having coffee because hasn't been a bad day, but it's been a long one. I've been doing readings all morning. This is actually a tea talk that I've been wanting to do for a while, and actually that I announced before. Spirit kind of led me to do. Why am I grabbing my tarot cards? Okay, that's becoming too much of a habit. If you're not aware, I do tarot. Aside from this is like journal prompts. They're very casual. I know people have messaged me saying they've actually started a journal for these prompts. And so feel welcome to do the same. I have a journal right in front of me. So today we're going to talk about being committed to ourselves and kind of my experience with that and what I've taken from it and what maybe could help you guys in that. So it's really cold out here. I need another drink. I didn't mean to slurp. It's whatever. But the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I feel like some of us don't really know what that means, being committed to ourselves. Some people see it as egotistical. Some people see it as not really necessary because they're so used to being committed to other things. And not to say that that's a bad thing, not to say that that's a negative thing, but we need to understand that our commitment to ourselves, how we love ourselves, how we accept ourselves, how we treat ourselves is going to be a reflection of what we do in the exterior. And, even if you are the most committed person to your job, let's say you run yourself ragged, and I know what that's like. I mean, I'm actually in a pretty good place right now. I'm doing what I love by doing the readings. But I mean, I teach from 4 a.m. to usually, anywhere, my times are 4 a.m. to like 9 a.m. and range anywhere within there. And from there, I do these readings and I make these videos and I make plans for all of this in between. And then I have another job I usually go to in the afternoon. So you could be completely devoted to one job and it absolutely run you ragged. Now, you could be great at that job. You could do very well at that job. And it still reflect something within you not committing to yourself just by the simple act of not making time for yourself, not making time to love yourself. So the first thing that I do want to talk about in this is the acceptance of yourself and self-love. This includes understanding the difference and differentiating between what society tells you to be and who you truly are. This can go for anything. It can go, I know for me, one of my things is weight. I'm working, I'm a vegetarian, aiming vegan. So I'm trying to get the eating down. I've been eating like crap the past few weeks. I'm not going to lie. Absolute crap. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say, oh my gosh, I'm doing such a good job. No, I fail. Not even fail. I just, it just happens. You're not always going to be at your best, but the fact that you're trying counts. But as for, I hike. I would hike. I mean, I try to hike around here where I'm at, but there's not a whole lot of hiking places. I did live in a place where there were a lot of hiking spots, and I hiked a lot. And I do yoga, and I love yoga. I just love it. And those are ways I'm loving myself. But I didn't get to the physical things until I started working from the inside out. So all of these things that are physically what I'm doing for myself right now had to start with something inward. I had to feel worthy. If I were to do it before I did any of the inner work that I did, it would be purely for other people. So other people could accept me. So other people could see me as beautiful, so that I could fit into a societal norm instead of just doing it for myself, because this is my temple. I need to love my temple to the best of my ability. And some days I win and some days I don't. But that's from the inside out. That has nothing to do with any exterior perspective or idea. That's something purely within myself. And I feel like a lot of us don't know what it truly means to accept ourselves. And that self-love. It's so much easier to accept other people sometimes than it is to accept ourselves. To love and have grace for other people and not for ourselves. And it's rough, but this acceptance of ourselves includes many things, not just like weight or something like that. That's a big thing right now, the BOPO community, body positivity, in all aspects of the word. But it's not just that. It's your mental and emotional state. It's spiritual. I know that with me personally, it took me years to come to accept that I was no longer a Christian. And this is something I'll make a video on separately. I'll just touch on it a little bit. I mean, I was in the ministry for a long, long time of a fundamentalist church. They weren't, like picket fences. No, no. But it was definitely, it still had a lot of toxic ideals. And it was very painful for me to separate from, because of just, I identified with that. It took me years. I felt disconnected from that belief system for years before I even took one step out of it. It was a process. It hurt and it tore me to shreds. And the thing is, when we don't listen to ourselves, when we don't accept ourselves, and we don't love ourselves and have grace for ourselves to go and change and go through phases, it makes things a lot harder than they have to be. And this didn't mean I didn't love God anymore. It was hard for me to accept that I could do both, because I had been taught for so long that it was one way or the highway. And I feared when you stripped everything away from me in this belief system, there was only fear. And if there was any indication as to how authentic I was being with God, which was my full reason to even just kind of take a step back, that should have showed me something about how actually non-accepting I was of myself. I didn't fear hell. I feared being separated from source. Excuse me if I get a little emotional. From love, from God. That's what I feared. And I think it hurt me the most. And I know it did, because I'm still feeling it right now. Is that particular belief system taught me, and I just accepted that. I couldn't accept myself, but I just accepted what these people had to teach me, that I was separate. That I had to, mixed with codependency. If you didn't check those videos out, feel free. Very bad combo. Religion and codependency. Even if they say it's relationship, just be aware. And I could not accept myself. I couldn't even say God, for over a year. And I think there's a difference between being broken emotionally and mentally and spiritually. It's a completely different ball field. And accepting ourselves and loving ourselves on a spiritual level is probably one of the most painful and transformative things you could ever experience. And you can't expect to go through that, lightheartedly. People think of spiritual awakening as this, rainbows and butterflies. People have told me, oh, you took the easy way out when I left that certain path. In reality, it was the hardest thing I ever had to do. And you literally feel, there's a reason why they say there's a spiritual death, because it feels like death, because you are dying to your former self to make way and transform into the person, the loving and accepting person that you were meant to be, your greatest version. So loving and accepting yourself can be both in the physical and in the spiritual realm and everything in between or beyond. And it's that relationship with ourselves. I feel like if you are a spiritual person, if you do have a belief system, so I'm just going to say God. If you don't, that's fine. Just take it like whatever applies to you, universe, source, whatever. Your relationship with yourself also reflects your relationship with the creator or source or the universe, God. I used to think that it was exterior. Like, oh, God is separate from me and God is what gives me my validation and that's all I need to care about. No. If God is love and I am to embody love, God is already with me. God is already within me. I know that some people feel weird about people saying that, but just hear me out. That relationship with yourself, will bring you to that connection. I don't know why I felt the need to share that, but there you go. Someone needed it. Now, moving on to from the inside out, that is how change truly happened. And that's how it truly happens for people. You can change your exterior all you want. You could wear the best makeup. You can learn how to do it flawlessly. You can lose all the weight. That doesn't change what's happening within you. Being committed and devoted to ourselves has to start from the inside out. Really facing the rough stuff, holding a mirror to ourselves without turning our heads. And that's why I think I needed to talk more about the spiritual aspect than just the physical, because the emotional, the mental, the spiritual especially, those aspects of ourselves that we ignore so much, almost all the time. No one wants to talk about anything heavy. No one wants to talk about anything real anymore. Everyone wants to just discuss the weather. Everyone just wants to talk about the drama on Fox News. You know what I mean? Like, no one wants to talk about anything real. No one wants to really know how you're feeling. That's why they're saying, oh, how are you doing? No one wants to do that. So how are we expected to do it within ourselves? I think if we really wanted to dive within and really face ourselves, we can see how that has reflected our exterior. Even if everything looks perfect, that doesn't necessarily mean it feels perfect. That doesn't necessarily mean it is. And nothing is ever perfect, to be fair. What is perfect? But, excuse me, almost got emotional there. Not that there's anything wrong with it. I just need to talk. I don't need my makeup running and stinging my eyes. Caught something in my eye. What'd you catch? Tears. But, so, you have to work from the inside out. I have really experienced this personally in facing myself. For the longest time, I didn't want to screw with romance. I was like, nah, I have a business in mind. I have things I need to do. There's things that I'm building. There's so much change. I have stuff I have to do. But there were some serious wounds within myself. And mind you, this is after I've been in the business of purging all the negativity and all the healing all the wounds. I've been in this for a while now, okay? A while. And it's still a thing. And that's the thing when you start this. It never stops. It's not supposed to. You don't necessarily become stagnant. And when you do, you're just okay, something's up. Not to say always search for drama, but it just seems to be a process. You just get comfortable with it. And you're just okay, this is good. This is going to be good. Anyway, I noticed how with romance, I didn't make time for it. I was I don't care. And then God, really opened my heart and was we need to look at this. We seriously need to look at this. And I was oh, why though? And we did. And I think when we dive deep within ourselves, we realize our true fears and how to confront them. And a part of being committed and devoted is going through, let's just be real. When I'm talking about committed to yourself, I'm not just talking about going to the gym, if that means committed to yourself, reading a book or growing. Commitment is about, the reason why people use committed or devotion is because that's going to be there when things get rough, when things get dark, when things are hard and difficult to deal with. And that includes with ourselves. For some reason, and in codependency, I know it's a thing. It's easier to deal with everyone else's problems because it takes you off the focus off your problems and the things you need to work on. And if you're not like that, if you kind of no, let's keep it lighthearted with everybody else, you're still avoiding the problems within you. You're still avoiding these shadow sides of yourself. And it's not necessarily that you need forgiveness. It's not necessarily that you're a horrible person. Listen, you need to learn how to have coffee or tea, whichever you prefer, with your shadow side, with the darker aspect of yourself, and make peace with it. Don't be afraid to sit with that part of you. You don't have to put a Band-Aid on it. That's not how healing works. That's not how inward work works. You have to be able to face this side of yourself to live a fulfilling life. You do not know light unless you know dark, and you do not know darkness unless you know light. Neither would have a meaning at all without the other. And if we ignore our shadow side and expect it to even tell someone, oh, I'm committed to myself, nah. Being committed to yourself is being willing to face these darker moments with yourself, work through them so that you can live your best life. So back to the romance aspect with me, I have and still am facing the darkest parts of myself. There are parts of me that feel unworthy of love. There are parts of me that think because of my size, no one will love me, because that's what I was taught, not only by society, but by other sources. There's parts of me that I'm just so ashamed of. And I've literally had to sit with myself and deal with that shame and say, Leah, it's okay. You're all right. You're not perfect, and that is okay. And so I feel like this also links to us being loved in return, and not just in relationships, but by everything, by letting love in from all aspects, from blessings to people, friends, family, especially romantic relationships, God, source, the universe. You know, that devotion and commitment to ourselves in our darkest times, and being willing to face our shadow side with full grace, love, and acceptance as we do for others. Mind you, you might find out that you'll have a lot more grace and love for others when you start having it for yourself. And you realize, wow, I didn't realize how to truly love till now because I learned to love myself. Everything is a reflection. Everything. That's why it's best not to take things personally. If someone's having a bad day and takes that out on you, does that give them a right to treat you like crap? Absolutely not. But you could take it like that instead of thinking, oh, what's wrong with me? No, there's nothing wrong with you, honey. That's something going on within them. And that works for us too. So for your journals, if you have one, if you don't, that's fine. I think for this one, come up with some really difficult questions. First one possibly being, how is what I do shaped by who I truly am and my thoughts, my beliefs, or is it shaped by someone else's? That is one of the hardest questions to, and be completely honest. I know it sounds weird, but get naked with yourself. Get spiritually, emotionally naked with yourself and answer these hard questions. And you don't have to go through it in fear, because you're going to have love and grace for yourself while doing this. And then ask yourself, after you figure out some of those answers, or if that's just too deep for you, just start with small questions. Like, I think I'm doing this challenge, and one of the funniest questions, but also it's kind of pivotal. It asks, what is your hair color, or why is your hair color what it is? And I thought, that's silly. But of course it's silly to me, because to me, it's like, I'm just going to have my hair whatever color I want. Or even if it's like within a job or whatever, I still am going to do the color that I want. But some people get their hair colored because this is acceptable by society, even if they have full range to change it. They may not cut their hair because their partner doesn't like it. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like, or, it's just one of those questions where it's like, you think it's kind of silly, but then you realize, aha, that's not a bad question. So ask yourself some serious questions this week. And I know that people might have thought about this in a different way, and I'm going to come up with a part 2. I'm about to do it right now. About how I've done this for myself, and hopefully my experiences could help you in some way. But I hope that if there's anything you take from this particular tea talk, is to have love and grace for yourself, and to learn what that means for you, and how not having that commitment to yourself in your darkest moments and with your darkest secrets, and loving yourself through that, how that can hinder you from the best life that you can live and the best person you could be. So I hope this helped you guys, and I will see you in the next video.